If you're watching this, then hopefully you've already read the instruction booklet or watched the Getting Started guide on the website. I just wanted to follow up from those with a little bit more of an advanced use guide to show you how to use pixl-latr a little bit quicker. I'm just going to get my pixl-latr ready and I'll be back in a second to give you some tips. So I've now got pixl-latr set up on a light source with our mask A4 around the outside of it. With pixl-latr set up like this, because the diffuser is underneath the top of the mask, it can be a little bit more fiddly to keep taking it in and out, and therefore more fiddly to load roles into the back of pixl-latr. So ideally, once you're set up like this, you just want to be able to load your film into pixl-latr and start digitizing your film. For the sake of this video, I wanted to concentrate on a particularly curled bit of 35mm film. So I recommend using pixl-latr with uncut film. So this is straight back from a lab, and actually it's been cut very close to the edge of the first frame. There's no leader to help us with loading it into pixl-latr. So there's two ways that you can load the film. You can either load it downwards, like this, the curl is facing downwards, or you can load it with the curl facing upwards. Now, in the instruction booklet, I actually recommend essentially rolling it with the curl facing upwards, because that's the emulsion side facing upwards. One of the reasons for this is that in theory, the emulsion side is slightly less reflected. If you have a nicely controlled environment in terms of the light, then this shouldn't matter too much. Some people will say that digitizing emulsion side up can give a slightly sharper result. I personally have never noticed this, so I don't worry too much whether I digitize emulsion side up or side down. In actual fact, it's easier with pixl-latr set up like this to load the film emulsion side down. The reason for this is that if you try and load the film in this way round, when the film gets to this side of pixl-latr, you'll find that it can get caught on the underside of the frame. If you load it with the curl facing downwards, you'll find that the film will much more easily poke out at the other side of pixl-latr, like so. Now, the issue, of course, with this particular roll, as I said, is the film has been cut very close to the edge of the first frame. So we would load it into pixl-latr like so. So the edge of the first frame is lined up to the edge of the pixl-latr frame there. Put our vertical gate in, compress everything down nicely like that, and then digitize our first frame. Moving on from there, we open pixl-latr by its hinge, push the film through, pull it out the other side like so, compress pixl-latr down, and digitize our second frame. Now, you'll see one of the advantages of having the film rolled like this is that the mask has a textured surface, and this textured surface was chosen intentionally when we were developing this product to help hold the film and stop it from becoming unwieldy. If you keep the film rolled on this side, like so, and then as you pull the film through from the other side, you begin to roll your film on this side too. As you're going through your frames, you'll find that the film stays nicely in place. This helps to stop the film from moving up and down within pixl-latr, and also means whilst you're transporting it through, it keeps it neat and tidy and prevents it from unrolling all over your digitization surface. Handling the film like this should mean that digitizing all of the middle part of the roll of film is nice and easy. So just hinge open, move to our next frame, compress, digitize, hinge open, move to our next frame, compress and digitize, and so on until we get close to the other end of the film. As we get to the end of this particular roll, we can see again that it's been cut very close to the final frame. There's two ways of dealing with this. The first is obviously as you pull the film into pixl-latr, this edge of the film will no longer be supported by the guide on this edge of the frame. So we just have to, as we pull through, we get to the last few frames, we just have to line them up by eye. But again, you should find that with your film in a roll on this side, it will prevent it from being too unwieldy. So we can just compress down, digitize our last couple of frames. If you struggle not having the guide on the inside of the pixel-latr helping you, you might find that taking advantage of the right-hand side of pixel-latr makes your life a little bit easy. So simply move the vertical gate along like so, and obviously you need to move this under the camera. This can be a little bit less ideal if you haven't got a particularly level surface. You might find you need to recheck for sharpness, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue. And then doing it this way, it's only the very last frame that you then have to line up by eye. Using pixel-latr this way, of course, once you've digitized your last frame, you can just get your next roll of film without having to turn pixel-latr over. You can carry on digitizing without disturbing your setup too much. Hopefully that's been helpful, although I do want to just add that there is no fixed way to use pixel-latr. Of course, there is what it says in the Getting Started guide, and indeed what I've just demonstrated here. Ultimately, though, find the way that it works for you best. This is how I digitize my film with pixel-latr. Your mileage may vary. As I say, I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, of course, please feel free to get in touch.